Okay, look, we've already talked in the past about some of my problems, namely buying books that I don't need to buy. Anyway, we're not talking about that problem today. We're talking about an entirely different problem because I have a confession to make. I am currently in the middle of 112 series right now. Yes, you heard that right. 112 book series that I am currently in the middle of. I know, I'm a mess. But honestly, you subscribe to me for stuff like this, so you know, here's the unhinged content that I was talking about in one of my last videos. So here it is for you guys today. I am going to tell you if I'm going to continue them or not, and the likelihood of me continuing them or not. So I have a cheat sheet for my lingo for you guys. First, there is yes, I will continue this series. That means the probability of me continuing that series is 100%. Then we have probably. This is higher than 50%. I will likely read this, but it's not a top priority, and I am a mood reader, so I will read it when I read it and when I feel like it. Then we have maybe. Maybe is probably a 50-50 chance of me reading it, which, you know, is higher than some other books. Then we have one more chance. This means I didn't love it, but I liked the concept of it, or I thought it had a lot of potential. And so I'm going to give one more book in the series a chance before I decide whether I will continue to read it or I will not continue to read it. Then we have no. I just 100% am not going to continue this series. This has nothing to do with the author and everything to do with me. It's just not in my preference anymore. It's not to my age range anymore. A variety of different things. So come along with me on a journey of me telling you every single series that I'm in the middle of and the likelihood of me continuing that series or not. Today I am using Notion to help me out. I am not sponsored by Notion. I would love to be because they are actually really awesome and I love lists and charts and graphs and things like that. But just so that you kind of know what I'm using, first we have A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is slated to be a 6-book series or a 6.5 book series if you want to include the novella. The only reason I haven't finished the series is because it's not out yet. It's a continuing series. I will definitely be continuing this series whenever it does come to its completion. Next we have A Deal with the Demon by Katie Robert. I have read this book in the series and I enjoyed it. It was short, it was fast, it was pretty fun. Currently there are 5 books out, but I think there might have been a 6th since I created this chart. This is a probably continue for me, but it's not like the highest priority. Once I get Kindle Unlimited again, then I'll definitely be picking up more of those books. Then we have A Neighbor from Hell by R.L. Matthewson. This series is pretty fun. It's like a contemporary romance with some spice in it. I did enjoy it. I remember it making me laugh a lot, but there are 14 books in this series. The probability of me finishing that whole series is pretty slim. Then we have Alex and Eliza, which is a YA historical romance fiction about Alex Hamilton and his wife Eliza. This was one of the first books I listened to on audiobook and I enjoyed it, but after hearing about Alexander Hamilton's past and how he's treated Eliza, infidelity is not my jam, so I will not be continuing the other 2 books in the series. Then we have American Royals by Katharine McGee. I have read the first 2 books in this series. Currently there are 4 books and maybe a 5th, maybe even more than that. It's not the highest on my list, but I really like the concept of a queen ruling America. Not that I necessarily want a monarchy, but I love that concept in fiction. She just kind of takes agency over what she can, and I really enjoyed that in the first 2 books, even though it didn't turn out quite like I had expected it to. So if I have the time and I'm in the mood, I probably will continue the series. Then we have An Accidentally in Love Stories, which is written by 2 authors, Whitney Deneen and Melanie Summers. Now I have read a lot of Melanie Summers books. I really enjoy her writing style. This series has 6 books and I ended up reading the 5th book because it was a Christmas book called Mistletoe. It was really cute and wholesome. I really like how the relationship progressed. It made me laugh. I liked the ending too. So the probability of me continuing the series is like 50-50. So it's a maybe. Then we have the Benett Boys Ranch series by Laureen Landis. This is a cowboy romance. It has 3 books in the series and I read the first book. I remember at the time I like zoomed through it, and then after I sat and thought about it, I was like, I actually don't know if I enjoyed this. It was one of those books that I read really quickly and consumed really quickly, and then I forgot. No, I will not be continuing this series. Then we have Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have read 3 of the 4 or 5 books. Maybe I've read 4 of the books. Jennifer L. Armentrout loves to end on cliffhangers. I just want to read them and consume them as quickly as I can. I don't like cliffhangers. I mean, like, whenever you can read the next book immediately, it's fine. But when I can't read the next book immediately, it kills me. I will be continuing the series, but I'm waiting for the completion of it. Then we have Blood of Stars by Elizabeth Lem. This is like the Spin the Dawn duology. I read the first book and I really enjoyed it. It's like a YA fantasy trials situation where she has to go through all of these trials to prove herself to be a great seamstress. So I really like, I think it's like Chinese lore or Asian folklore in it. Was very different to me. There's kind of a subplot of is it romance? Is there a romance subplot? I can't remember, but I have an inkling that there was. I have been waiting for my library to get it on Libby and they have not, so I'm going to be requesting it. Anyway, I enjoyed it and I will continue the duology. Then we have Briar U series by Elle Kennedy. This is a hockey sports romance. It's new adult. They're at college. I have read 3 of the 4 books in this series, so yes, I will be completing the series. Then we have Bride of the Shadow King by Sylvia Mercedes. This was an ad that I kept getting on my Instagram app again and again and again. So finally I gave in and I tried it on Kindle Unlimited and it was interesting. I liked the concept of it, but I didn't love the execution of it. It is a trilogy and I read only the first book, so I bet that she does improve as an author throughout the series. The plot line was wild. It was just one thing after another and then this and then this and this. They didn't always tie together and I didn't love that. It's a no for me. Then we have Brides of Blueberry Cove by Donna Kaufman. I listened to this on audiobook. It was kind of a romantic suspense mystery situation. I can't quite remember. Something gets sabotaged and it's linked with this family and she is trying to figure out what's happening and this guy is involved and she and the guy fall in love, I think. I don't know, it just didn't stick with me and I will not be continuing the series. Then we have the Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. I probably will be continuing the series. I read the first 2 back to back and it was so fun. Bromance Book Club is this group of grown men who come together and read romance books and analyze it and how to use what they've learned from those books in real life. Then we have the Cambric Creek series by C.M. Nacosta. I read the second book, Sweet Berries. It was really fun at the first half and then after that it kind of fell off for me, so I think that I am going to give it one more chance and try one more book in the series before deciding whether or not I continue it. Cambric Creek is an interspecies society where all of these different creatures live in society with humans and there's like interspecies relationships. So the society is really interesting to me, but the characters and the plotline didn't quite speak to me, so again, one more chance. Then we have the Chicago Star series by Susan Elizabeth Phillips. Susan Elizabeth Phillips has slowly become one of my favorite authors. All of the books that I read by her are 4 stars or above, so I definitely am going to be giving this series more of a chance. However, there are 9 books in this series, which is kind of high, so I will probably continue the series, but it will probably be very slow. Okay, then we have Copper Mountain Christmas series by Catherine Garbera. I listened to this on audio. On Audible, it was part of the like Audible membership library that you can listen to for free. It was very simple, very straightforward, very to the point language about Christmas and cowboys. It was a good listen for around that holiday, but the likelihood of me finishing the series is very slim, so I will probably say no. Then we have the Copper Ridge series by Maisie Yates. This series has 18 books. I have read 7 of the 18 books, so it's a probably that I will finish this series. I have a few of them back here on hand for just in case, because sometimes I just need like a sweet cowboy romance to throw in there. Copper Ridge is this country community set in Oregon. There's lots of farms, there's lots of small businesses. Everyone is very mostly supportive of each other, but everyone has their own baggage, you know, and then the couples get together. It's fun. I've enjoyed the series so far, so I probably will finish it. Then we have Credence, Colorado series by Amy Andrews. This happens to be one of the 3 books, and it just happens to be Christmas. The other ones I don't think are Christmas, but I really enjoyed this novel. It was really fun, well written. The progression of the relationships was really fun and believable. There was a little bit of spice in it. It was funny. I liked the characters and their background and history. Their character arcs were believable and relatable, so I think this is a really underrated book. Yes, I think I will be continuing the series. Then we have the Crescent series city. Then we have the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. There are 2 books out right now, and I have read both of them. I believe that there is a 3rd and final book in this series. Please tell me it's only 3. I don't know if I can go through the emotional trauma that Sarah J. Maas puts us through with the Crescent City series. Oh my gosh, that cliffhanger after the 2nd book. Sarah, you're killing us. Yes, I will be continuing this series. Then we have the Dark Olympus series by Katie Robert. I have read the first 3 books in the series. I believe the 5th book just came out. This is kind of a retelling of Greek mythology, but in modern times. And instead of them being Greek gods, they are figureheads. So they take on the roles and responsibilities of what the Greek gods were known for. Like Ares is known for war and protection, so the Ares figurehead protects the city. Or Demeter is the god of like the food, and I forget exactly what she does. But the Demeter figurehead in this book is in charge of farmlands and supplying the food into the city. So things like that. So I really like that idea. I think it's really clever, and it's also a very spicy series. Check the trigger warnings for sure. Katie Robert is very good about putting trigger warnings up. Then we have Diary of a Wimpy Kid by Jeff Kinney. I received some of these books from my students when I was teaching in South Korea. We talked about books all the time, and some of my students really wanted me to read their favorite books. So when they gifted it to me, of course I read it. That was just so sweet of them and so thoughtful of them. However, I will not be continuing this 17 book series. I have read 3 of the books, the first 3, and I was actually kind of appalled that this is a popular series. I could really go into this. The attitude and behavior of the main character in that series is atrocious. Like, I could see him being atrocious, and then it's commented upon or talked about later with the parents about why that's not okay, the consequences of that. But no, there was none of that. It was just like, oh, here I am, and I'm still going on acting like a little piece of... I was appalled, honestly. Then we have the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. I read the first 2 books in the series, and then I read part of the 3rd book, I believe, and I don't know why, but I really lost interest. I think the 2nd book is what did it for me, because 4 was just a jerk in that book, and I was like, what? No? So I will not be continuing this 6-book series. I don't know if 6 books is the right number to put for it, because there are some short stories and stuff, so I didn't know how to categorize that, but anyway, I will not be continuing it. Then we have the Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher. This series follows 3 grandsons of the owner of Dreamland, kind of a Disney-esque amusement park, who passes away, but in his will he requires the 3 sons to do a certain like task before they can get their inheritance. I really enjoyed the series. I do have the 3rd book ready to read soon, so I will be continuing it. Then we have Eden's Gate by Edward Brody. I actually read the first half of the book in the series. I listened to it. It was really fun. I was like super into sci-fi at that time and like the RPG gaming kind of situation. And then I saw there are 7 books in this series, and I read reviews that it ends on cliffhangers, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna want to read 7 of these books. So no, I will not be continuing this series. However, very humorous. It's very fun. If you're into like RPG, kind of the gaming things, then I think you will like this series. Then we have Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson. This is my OG book. My most read, most beloved book to me. It's one of the first books I remember reading other than the Magic Treehouse series. So it has a very special place in my heart. However, he just came out with a novella and he has a second book, but it's just so special to me in my heart, and I don't want to mess that up. So no, I will not be continuing the series. If you haven't figured it out, Ella Enchanted is like a Cinderella retelling. The fairy godmother gifts Ella with the gift of obedience, but does not realize how it affects Ella when a task or a command is coming from someone without her best interest at heart. And even her family members who do have her best interest at heart made mistakes. Her fairy godmother was like, eat your cake, Ella, and so Ella had to keep eating her cake and couldn't stop until someone told her to stop, right? She goes to try and get the gift taken away, but in the laws of fairies, they can't undo a gift. You have to undo it. So Ella goes on this journey to undo her curse and get rid of her obedience. Super cute. Very adventurous. With the subplot of romance. Then we have the Ender Sextet by Orson Scott Card, which has 6 books in it. I read the first one and it was interesting, but I don't think I love that genre enough to read 5 more books in the series. So no, I will not be continuing this series. Ender Sextet is about this boy who gets kind of drafted. He's like super genius, and he is going to this training camp to end the war with this like species. So he's like doing all these simulations and stuff like that to help end this intergalactic war. And there's a lot of twists and turns in there. The ending though, the ending was wild. Okay, then we have Fable by Adrienne Young. I love Fable and Namesake so much. I thought I was going to be a duology, and I love duologies. They're just like the perfect length. I was so excited, but then I found out that it's not a duology anymore. So now it's 4 books and potentially going to be more. I do own the 3rd book, and then the prequel just came out. So yes, I will be continuing this series. Then we have Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. I read the first 2 books in the series when I was in like middle school or high school or something like that, and they were very interesting concept, but kind of like all over the place. Not my favorite writing style either. It's just not my like age range anymore. It just doesn't appeal to me as much anymore. So I will not be continuing this rest of the 6 books in this series. Then we have the Fairy Tale Romance series by Melanie Dickerson. I started this series when I worked at Lifeway. I remember the cover of the first book really catching my eye, and I like love those kind of Disney retellings or like Brothers Grimm retellings, and I ended up reading 5 books in this series. However, when I looked it up, there are now 11 books in this series. I just don't think they're at my age range anymore, so no, I will not be continuing this series. However, if you want like a clean fairy tale romance retelling, these are great for that. Then we have the Fake It series by Karina Taylor. This is on KU, and there are 3 of them. I read the first one, Mr. HOA and Miss Trailer Park, and I like zoomed through them. They were very fun, very fast reads. So yes, I probably will finish the series because there's only 3 of them. If you want like a fun contemporary romance, I recommend these books. Then we have 50 Shades by E.L. James. I read the first 2 books in this series because I was just tired of like not knowing what everyone was talking about. I've never watched the series or the shows on Netflix or whatever streaming platform they're on now, so I wanted to know, and I got through the first 2 books books of the 3 books in this series, and I started the 3rd and I was just like, no, I'm good. I will not be finishing this series. Then we have Filthy Rich Americans by Nikki Sloan. The first book in the series is free, or it was free when I first read it on Amazon. It was interesting. Definitely read the synopsis and check the trigger warnings. It's not for everyone. There are 5 books in the series, so I think that I will maybe give it one more chance. Next we have Garnet Run by Rowan Parrish. I read the book Better Than People, or I listened to it, and it was so cute, and I loved how it talked about some mental health issues and some disability issues, and it's like 2 gay babies, so like super sweet, queer. There are dogs. It was very adorable, so I liked it, but I didn't realize that there were 4.5 books in this series, so it's a probably or like a possibly for me. So it's a possibly. Then we have Girl Meets Duke by Tessa Dare. There are 4 books in the series. I have read the first one. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun historical romance. I will possibly finish this series when I get Kindle Unlimited again, because that's where I read it. Then we have Gold Valley series by Maisie Yates, another cowboy romance. It does cross over with Copper Ridge. Like, they're different communities, but some of the people kind of cross over and work in the other one, vice versa. The probability is probably kind of low because this one already has so many books in the series, and Gold Valley has 12 books in the series, and I've only read one of them. Maybe over time, like slowly, I will be continuing it, but finishing it is probably low probability. Then we have The Graceling Realm by Kristen Cashore. This was my favorite book and favorite book series for so long when I was growing up. I love this series so much. I've read the first 3 books and I didn't love Bitter Blue, which is the 3rd book. It was just very different and dark, but I know Kristen Cashore had a really hard time writing it. It took her a long time. She ended up scrapping all of it and redoing all of it, so I know she had some issues writing it, but there are 2 more books after that, so there are 5 total in the series, and I probably will continue it. I'll probably finish it just for like the nostalgia factor. Then we have the Hades and Persephone series by Scarlett St. Clair. I have read the first 3 books in this series, and A Touch of Malice, which is the 4th and final book in the series, comes out this year. Yes, I will be finishing it. It is a Persephone and Hades retelling, if you couldn't tell by the title of the series. It's very spicy. It's very dark. I really liked what Scarlett St. Clair did with it. Then we also have the Hades Saga, which is also by Scarlett St. Clair, and it's like dual timeline of the Hades Persephone series, which mostly focuses and is in the perspective of Persephone, and then we have the Hades Saga, which is in Hades' perspective, and so those 2 lines interact, but they're different because they're focused on different people. A lot of people think that the Hades Saga is just kind of like the Midnight Sun, where it's like literally the same plot line but like Edward's perspective, but no, there's a lot of different things that happen in those 2 series. So yes, I will continue that series. Sorry, wow. Don't get me talking about the books I love, y'all, or it'll go on forever. Okay, then we have Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I love this series. The only reason I haven't finished it is because it's not complete. There will be 5 books total, and then there's like the Charlie, like the yearbook, which I haven't read, so maybe that's like 6. Maybe there's even 7. I know there's like a coloring book. I will be completing this series when it's finished. Yes. I love it so much. It's a graphic novel about Charlie and Nick. Charlie is gay, Nick is bi. It's just kind of like exploring their sexuality and exploring friendships. They're in high school, so there's like sports, relationships, just like platonic and romantic. There's mental health representation. It's just so good. Then we have The High Society by Ali Carter. I think I read the first 2 books in this series, and then I had to wait for the 3rd, and I think I started the 3rd, and I was like so aghast by one of the characters. I think his name was Hale, and his behavior from the second book to the third book, and I'm sure that it was all gonna come to a closing and have this like great character arc, because I read a bunch of Ally Carter's books. I love the Gallagher Girl Academy, but I just hated how Hale was acting, and so I DNF'd it and I haven't picked it up, so I probably won't finish the series. It's a no for me. Then we have Holes by Louis Sachar. Did you know that this was a series? I didn't know this was a series. There are 5 books in the series. I had no idea. I love Holes. It was great, but no, I will not be continuing the rest of the series. I had no idea. Did you? Then we have the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey. I read the first book in the series. I think it's Fix Her Up. It was cute. Do I have other books that I probably want to read before I read the rest of that series? Yeah, so it's possible that I'll continue or finish the series, but not that likely. Then we have the Hot Jock series by Kendall Ryan. I believe I listened to one of these books on Audible. It was in the Audible library for members. There are 8.5 books in the series, and no, I will not be finishing it. Then we have Howl's Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I love this book. Very much like Ella Enchanted. I just like want it to live in the bubble it is in. I tried reading the second book, which is kind of like a Arabian Nights, Aladdin, Jasmine vibe retelling, and I did not like it. I was not, no, it was a DNF for me. And because of that, I probably won't finish the series. No, I won't. This will just live in my head as a standalone. Then we have Ice Home by Ruby Dixon. This is a spin-off of the Ice Planet Barbarian series. Ice Home has 17 books, and I have read 7.5 of them. And yes, I will be continuing and finishing the series once I get Kindle Unlimited again. I took a break from Kindle Unlimited because I have so many of these books that I want to and need to read. Once I get to more of those, then I'll go back to Kindle Unlimited. Then we have the Imperfect series by Mary Frame. I read Imperfect Chemistry, and when I first read it, I like zoomed through it. It was so fun and so cute, and then I thought about it and I was like, did I love it? So like in the moment, yes. Very fun, very fast read. There are 6 books in this series. No, I will not be continuing it. But there is STEM, women in science, which is awesome. I love that aspect. But the like romance of it, which is like a huge part of it, it is a romance book. No. Then we have Iron Widow by Jiren J. Zhao. Yes, I'll be continuing the series. Oh my gosh. Iron Widow was one of my top reads of the year last year. You can check out this video if you want to see my top reads of 2022. It was so good. The cliffhanger that Jiren left us on? Excuse me! But also, look at the cover for the second book. I'm so excited! I don't know why I do this every time it comes to the second Iron Widow book. Then we have Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I will probably read the second book in this series. I think it's just a duology. Yeah. Then we have The Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan. I read the first book and a half of this series. I had a hard time getting into it. It was more to do, I think, with the brother and sister, especially the sister. I had a hard time connecting with her, and she is one of the main characters. She's a huge part of the books, and no, I will not be continuing this series. Then we have The Legend Born Cycle by Tracy Dion. This is a really interesting YA fantasy retelling of King Arthur. If you love all of these things, you'll love this book in the series. I had a hard time getting into it simply because of how not relaxing it was. It was very hard for me to keep everything in mind and like separated and like have this family tree and all of the roles and powers that each one had. It's for that reason that it's possible that I will continue it, but not probable. Excellent writing. I loved Brie. Tracy Dion did an excellent job. But it's just possible. Then we have Leviathan Fitness series by Ashley Benett. I read Muscles and Monsters. It's a short story, super fun, about a newly integrated interspecies society with creatures and humans. It was just so fun. The only reason I gave it a 4 stars is because I was mad it wasn't longer. I needed more. We have currently 3 books out and a 4th book coming, and yes, I will be continuing the series. Then we have Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing-Wen. This book was really fun. I loved that it was about a girl who had a really strict family, her traveling and finding herself and finding her voice to stand up for what she wanted and believes in. So I really loved the adventurous part. The relationships were really realistic to me too. There were definitely some moments where you wanted to strangle some of the characters, but at the end the character growth was really great and also really realistic for that age group, so I really liked it. However, I don't know if I'll continue the series. It's possible that I'll continue the series, but I've seen who the other books are about because it's not from the same perspective as the first book, and so I don't know if I want to read a story from their perspective. So it's possible, 50-50. Then we have the Mark Manson collection. This is the Yourself books. He also has 2 other books of that variety, kind of self-help psychology books. I will not be continuing them. The first book was just okay, like it was a nice reminder in that moment, but then when I thought about it, I was just like, none of it was surprising to me. But if you need a pep talk, this series is great for you. Then we have the Married to Magic series by Elise. I have read the first 3 books in the series. She is about to release book number 4 and number 5 is in the works. I don't know how long this series is going to be, but yes, I will be continuing it. All of them have very different worlds and very different characters. Elise mostly writes YA, but I think she's kind of trying to dabble and get into adult romance, and you can kind of tell that she hasn't swum in that swimming pool before, so she's getting there. But I have loved Elise ever since her Air Awakened series, so I definitely recommend giving this series a try. I will be continuing it. Then we have Mistletoe Romance by Cody Hall. I listened to the second book, actually. I didn't realize it was the second. It was cute. It was okay. I think it was just longer than it needed to be and it dragged on. I love the found family aspect. It's possible I might just pick it up during Christmas time because they are Christmas related books and they are in the Audible collection for free, so it's possible that I will pick this up during the holiday season. Then we have Mean Mishaps by Kimberly Leving. I love this series so much. A 3rd one is about to come out and I believe a 4th one is in the works right now. I don't know how long this series is going to be, but yes, I will read them. This series is so fun. It was also in my favorite books of the year last year. I highly recommend it if you want like fantasy romance, rom-com. It's so funny, like really full of life characters. This series is for you. Yes, I will be continuing it. Then we have Molotov Obsession by Anna Zaras. It is a duology. It ends on a cliffhanger. I need to finish it, and yes, I will be finishing it. It's about this girl who is being chased by these people. They're trying to kill her. She doesn't know why. She becomes a nanny at this like estate with a lot of security. Turns out that guy maybe has like kind of a past. When the guys are dealt with, that's when we end, but he's like, you're not leaving. I'm very interested to see how it goes. Then we have A Montana Sweet Western Romance by Pamela M. Kelly. I read the first book in the series, 6 Months in Montana. Not for me. I feel really bad saying that because I know Pamela has put a lot of time and effort into writing that book. Same with all of these authors. Nothing on them, just not for me, and that's okay. It's okay if it's not for you too. There are 5 books in this series and I will not be continuing it. Then we have the Moose Springs, Alaska series by Sarah Morgenthaler. This is a 4.5 book series. I believe it's on Kindle Unlimited. That's where I read the first book. I liked the concept of it. I love books in Alaska for some reason. Maybe just like the wilderness, nature, country. I might give one more book a try. Then we have Mr. Wrong Number series by Lynn Painter. This book was so fun. It made me laugh so much. It has Baby Spice in it. Her second book just came out. It's over here somewhere. Just kidding, it's in my house. Anyway, yes, I will be continuing this series. Right now there are only 2 books, but I imagine that she will possibly add more to the series. Super fun contemporary rom-com about kind of quirky and messy main female characters, but like who get their shit together and make good things happen for themselves, and I love that. With some romance and some spice. yes, I'll continue the series. Then we have the Not Quite series by Catherine Bybee. I read the first book in this series called Not Quite Dating. It was honestly not bad. It was pretty straightforward, simple, billionaire, age gap, country versus city, status gap kind of romance. I thought she did a pretty good job of writing it. However, there are 6 books in this series and I don't think I'm interested enough to read it. But if you like a pretty tropey, pretty simple, but like easy read on Kindle Unlimited, definitely check this series out. Then we have the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. There are 5 books in this series. I've only read 1 of them. I don't know why I skipped to Briar U before the Off-Campus series. However, I do plan to finish the Off-Campus series. Hockey romance. College. New adult. Spicy hockey romance. Yes. Then we have Once Upon a Con. I picked up the first book of this series on Audible. It is in the Audible library for free by Ashley Poston, and this was actually so cute. It was a kind of like a con geeky nerdy retelling of Cinderella. Loved it. It ended up being way better than I expected, and I will probably be continuing this series, but it's definitely not a high priority. There are 6 books in the series. Okay, maybe not. Possibly. It just bumped down to possibly, because that's a lot. Maybe I'll just like listen to them slowly. Next we have Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. There are 13 books in the series. I could barely get through the first book. No, I'm not going to finish the series. Maybe I'll just watch it. Yeah, it's just they're too dense for me. I'm sorry. I need easy reads. There's enough dense stuff out in the real world. Then we have the Paradise Bay series by Melanie Summers. When I first read this series, there were only 2 books out. Now there are 6 books out. So probably I will finish them. They're fun, easy, light, romantic comedies. And I enjoy the setting that they're in. So yeah, I'll probably finish them. Then we have Perfect Chemistry by Simone Elkils, the Perfect Chemistry series. When I first read this book, it was not a series. This is like a throwback to high school, like touches of dark romance. He is in a gang because that's all he has known his whole life. His family members are in gangs, so like he was expected to be in one too. And then he gets a chemistry partner like in high school, and she's just like very sheltered and innocent, but they become friends and more than friends, and like they both see other sides of their life and of the world than they knew existed. I really liked it, but I didn't know this was a series. There are 4 books in the series now, and I probably won't be finishing it. I think I'm just beyond that time. Yeah. Then we have The Prime Mating Agency by Regina Abel. I listened to the first book in the series, I Married a Lizard Man, because I'd seen people talking about it and I was like, this looks weird, but I feel like so many people are talking about it, so I'm gonna give it a try. And I ended up loving it. Basically, there's this world where this agency, this prime mating agency, they take people who aren't able to find their person or like get married in their world, and then they find compatible species that works like with their DNA so that I guess they can get married and have kids somehow. I was just like, what is going on? But then I read it and I think I read it in one day. Oh my gosh, yes, I will be continuing the series even though there are 7 books in the series. They're short, they're shorter. Then we have the Ranger's Apprentice series by John Flanagan. I think I have read the first 4 books in the series. John Flanagan, I believe, is an Australian author, and so it took a while for them to come from his country to the United States, like a really long time. So that's all that was available when I was like in middle school and high school at the time. Now there are 16 books in the series. I don't know if I'll be able to finish all of them. It would be nice to slowly finish them, but now there are like 3 spin-off series. He's like the Cassandra Clare of Australia, but with kingdom spies and historical fantasy fiction. Possible. It's possible I will continue reading the series, but will I finish the series? 16 books is a lot. I say that as I read a 22 book series about blue space aliens. I don't know what's wrong with me. Then we have Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I really enjoyed the first book. It was very different. It was very fun. You really went on a journey with the main character. And it was also kind of scary. how possible and potentially probable that some of these circumstances are in our future. It now has a second book, and yes, I will be reading the second book eventually. Then we have The Red Queen by Victoria Avery. I have read the first book and part of the second book out of this 4-book series. The covers are awesome. However, I could not get over Mare in the second book. She did not have any redeeming qualities in the second book, and I got so sick of her wavering over Cal, who has done all of these things for her. And then I read some spoilers about maybe who she potentially gets with and stuff like that, and I was just like, you're kidding me! So I just quit. No, I will not be continuing this series. Then we have the Rivals series, which I think might only be available on Audible. This series takes rivals in history and kind of gives you a humorous historical lesson on them. It's very funny. I have read 2 out of the 3 books, so yes, it's probable. I probably will finish the series and just pick up the 3rd randomly whenever I feel like it. Then we have Royally Crushed by Melanie Summers. I have read the first book in this 3-book series. I will be continuing this series mostly because I own them already. It was okay, it was cute. I think it's an adult book, but it seemed more catered to a YA audience. So if you're YA and you like adventures and you like royals, this is for you. Then we have Sabine Valley by Katie Robert. When I first read the series, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about it, but then the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. And I want her to continue the series, but she is on an indefinite hiatus from the series, so I don't know if it's going to be finished. However, if she finishes it, I will finish the series. There hopefully will be 8 books in the series because there are 8 brothers. Sabine Valley follows this society that has like ruling groups, and they like fight for the right to rule. And this group of brothers, their dad was the ruler, and then they were betrayed and his dad died, and then all of those brothers went into exile so that they wouldn't also get killed. So now later they're coming back with like a revenge plot to take over the society. It's really interesting. Then we have Scattered Galaxies series by Jade Waltz. I accidentally read the 3rd book in the series instead of starting with book 1, so maybe that's why it didn't hit home, but the idea of it was really interesting. And it's like this plant world where plant beings are sentient, and I really liked that idea. However, I am only going to give the series 1 more chance. The idea and concept was great, but the execution was not. So 1 more chance before I decide if I will continue or not continue the series. Then we have the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. The first book was fun. It is a sci-fi fantasy kind of subplot of romance YA book by Brandon Sanderson about this world. Apparently there are going to be 7 books in this series. I don't know if all of them are out yet. I have listened to the first 1.5 of these books, and then I kind of lost interest because the world that was built in the first book is so vastly different in the second book. And I kind of like when series books, like, I don't mind if they change, but when it's so vastly different, it really is not my favorite. I like connecting to the characters and like making a deep connection with it, and so I had a really hard time with Skyward, so no, I will not be continuing this series. Then we have the Stay a Spell series by Juliet Cross. I am obsessed with this series. There are 6 books in the series and then a novella, so I have read 6.5 books in this series. And yes, I will be continuing it. It follows 6 sisters who are witches who live in New Orleans in this kind of fantasy-esque world. There are witches, vampires, grims, werewolves. There are those kind of creatures, and their oldest sister is kind of like the ruler of it all and make sure everything runs smoothly. But then like each sister has a different role in the society. It's very fun, I don't know if it's like found family because they are literally a family, but their partners come in and then that's like found family. There's action, there is mystery, there is spice. It's fun, and yes, I will be continuing it. The last book comes out this year and I'm so excited. Then we have Stephen Fry's Great Mythology series by Stephen Fry. There is slated to be 4 books in this series. I think right now there are only 3 out. I have listened to Mythos, which is the first one, and I own the second one, which is called Heroes. And then there's one about the Trojan War, and then I can't remember the 4th one. However, I will probably finish this series and just listen to it, pick it up randomly. I really enjoyed how much humor he put into retelling these stories. Super fun, highly recommend it if you're into Greek mythology or retellings. Then we have Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I listened to this on audiobook and I have to admit I didn't love the narrator, but when I think more about the stories, I think I will continue the series. There are 3 books right now in the series. It's this kind of like magical realism where at this specific cafe you can go back in time, but you can only go back in time and you cannot, it will not affect the future. But what people get from these moments is a lot more understanding so that they can live in their future with more understanding. I really like the idea and the concept of it. However, I think if I continue the series, I will read them physically because I did not love the narrator. She really took her time in between each sentence and each paragraph before continuing on, and those pauses did not do it for me and really took me out of the moment. So I will read them physically, and yes, I will continue the series. Then we have the Betrothed series by Kiera Cass, who is also the same author from the Selection series. I was so excited about this because I love Kiera Cass. I've also listened to The Siren, one of, I think it's her debut novel. Enjoyed that, but I did not like the Betrothed. The characters were very, very one-dimensional, and I didn't see where the storyline was going. It's possible. I want to give it one more chance because I love Kiera Cass. I think it's only a duology though, so have you been unfocused this whole time? Dear God, I hope not. Okay, then we have the Bridge Kingdom series by Daniel L. Jensen. I have read the first 2 books in the series, and there are 2 more books. She just announced releasing her 4th and final book in the series. I'll continue the series. It's fun to listen to. There is romance, there is fantasy. I like the world that she's building. So yeah, I'll finish the series. This is a really good start for fantasy romance if you are interested in dabbling in that. Then we have the X-Hex series by Erin Sterling. I will be continuing the series because I just love the vibes of this town. It's very rom-com, very quirky, funny, flawed characters, which I love. I love the spice and the romance. It's just not the highest rated books, but like a good time. You have a good time reading it. So yes, I will be continuing this series. I think the 3rd book is coming out, or she's working on it right now. Then we have the Extra series by Megan Walker. I listened to the first book in the series. Apparently there are 11 books in this series. I did not love it enough to continue it. It talked about this chick who becomes an extra in movies and just her journey on that, and like there's some romance and stuff like that. It wasn't memorable enough for me, I'm sorry. Then we have possibly a controversial one, and that is the Folk of the Air series. I have read the first book and started the 2nd book, and it's just not really for me. I want to like it so badly. The probability of me finishing the series is pretty low, but I want to give it one more try and listen to it on audiobook. That's my consolation. That's my compromise. Then we have The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This is a romance contemporary. It's spicy. It usually covers some forms of difficult topics. Abby Jimenez does a really good job of doing a deep dive into those. However, this book was not my favorite. I really liked it at first, but I didn't like how everything was resolved, and then I felt like it was a little longer than it should have been. That's kind of how I felt about Part of Your World as well. There are 3 books in this series, and I know the 2nd book really focuses on grief. I think I'll give it one more try. I'll give it one more try because I do like the writing style. Then we have The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I will be continuing the series. I'm simply just waiting for the 2nd book to come out in paperback. I believe that there will be 3 total books in this series. I really like the sisterhood, the women empowerment. There's a lot of action. It's a fantasy world. She's really laying a great foundation for a great world building, and just like the power of these women and all that they go through and their strength. I love that, and so yes, I will be continuing this series. Then we have the Hardigan series by Avery Flynn. I listened to Butterface, and I will not be continuing this 3-book series. There were definitely some swoon-worthy moments, but I did not like the characters' self-flagellation and dislike of herself and her appearance, or like how much she disliked her appearance and how much that affected her self-confidence. It was mentioned over and over and over and over again, and there was not really a lot of character growth in that department. And then I've read reviews for the 2nd and 3rd book, and that comes up a lot again as well. So no, I'm good. I'm not gonna finish this series. Then we have The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I probably will finish this series just because it's written about such an important topic, and the first book was really well written. The second book is technically the prequel, so it's technically like 0. I don't know how that works, but anyway, yes, I probably will continue this series. Then we have The Highlander of Balforce by Jennifer Trethewey. I listened to this on audiobook on Audible, and I probably won't be continuing it. It's definitely set in that time where it was considered okay for men to say and do things when in reality it probably isn't or wasn't, and didn't love the characters. Yeah, I'm not gonna finish it. Loved the setting though in Scotland. Then we have The 100th Queen by Emily R. King. I read the first book, or listened to it, and it was pretty fun. It just made me wonder about why author writing so intricately about a culture and society that is not her culture or society, and I couldn't find anything about her having lived in South Asia or visiting or anything like that. That just kind of put me off a little bit. I have the second book, so I'll give that a try and see how it goes. This is about a kingdom where the king kind of imitates the gods, and the gods had like 100 queens. So we get to see this one girl being chosen as his 100th queen, and she has to like fight for the right to be his 100th queen. So it's just this system of like oppression among women to create like bickering and an animosity between them. So I really don't like that, but I think she might address it. But then she also has like this manifesting power inside of her that she's trying to keep hidden because it's illegal in this world. I'll give it one more try. Then we have The Influencer series by Amy Leah. This is the first book in the series where she is a Fitstagram influencer. The second book in the series, she is a romance book influencer on Instagram. Super fun. I really like this first book. I own the second book right now. I think it's up here, and I haven't read it yet, but I do plan on it. I think I will continue the series. I think there will be a total of 3 in the series. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Then we have the Jai Pur trilogy by Aaliyah Joshi. I actually DNF'd the first book because of the trope that was in it. Spoilers. Skip if you don't want to hear spoilers. If you do, stay. I cannot stand the pregnancy trope. Cannot stand it, and just like how much it's gonna affect these women's lives, and they're gonna be the ones taking care of it, and the men are gonna have nothing to do with it, or they're never gonna learn about it, and they're gonna be shunned in society. No. As soon as I figured that out, nope. So I will not be continuing this series. However, I did love the setting and the world building of this book. The writing was actually really pretty, but whenever that happened, I was gone. And then we have the Kiss Quotient series by Helen Hung. This is actually the third book in the series. It's so funny because the only book I haven't read is the first book in the series. I will be finishing it though. I have enjoyed the other 2 books in the series, including this one. So yes, I will be continuing it. Then we have the Lunar Chronicle series by Melissa Meyer. I have read the first 2 books in the series. I believe that there are now 6 books. I probably will finish them. I know I really want to read Crescent, and then there's Fairest and Winter. Fairest is a short story, and then Winter is the main book. So yeah, and then there's like this Cinder's marriage or wedding or something like that. Yeah, I'll probably finish them. I'll definitely be giving Crescent and Winter and Lunar a read. So yeah, I'll finish the series. Then we have the Maze Runner series by James Dashner. I will possibly finish the series. I read the first book, and then back in the day, my library, like I was in high school, my library didn't have the second book yet. And then I was like, oh, I'll just wait until the whole series is out. Now it is a 6-book series, so that's kind of up there. I think some of those might be novellas. I will definitely give it a try again, but it's a maybe for me. Then we have the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. This is a definite yes for me. I am wanting to reread like her whole universe and world that she has created around this series, this like theme. So yes, I will be continuing the series. It is about a world of half angels, half humans, and they get rid of the demons that come into the human realm. There's a lot more to it, but yes. Then we have the Plated Prisoners series by Raven Kennedy. This is a probably because there's so much hype, and I hear that it gets so much better after the first book that I really want to give it a shot and finish it. I believe it is a 5-book series now. 4 more books to go. Then we have The Program by Susan Young. This book was so good when I first read it. Just Suzanne Young's ability to write about emotions in a way that you like totally understand and relate to was really awesome. However, check the trigger warnings on this book. It does talk about mental health very deeply and suicide, so just be aware of that. It's about a program to prevent suicide, but it like goes very deeply about it. This is now an 8-book series. However, I believe it's like 6 books and then 2 novellas, I believe. I do want to finish it because I do have 3 more books on my shelves. I've just been trying to find them. It's really hard to find these books. Like I couldn't find them in Barnes & Noble for the longest time. So I've been like scouring secondhand bookshops. So I just buy them when I find them, but they're really hard to find. Anyway, long story short, yes, I'll be finishing them. Then we have the Ravenel series by Lisa Kleypas. It's like the Devils series. This is my mom's favorite series by Lisa Kleypas, or maybe it's the Wallflowers. I'm not sure. Either way, my mom enjoys this series. I've read this and I really enjoyed it. It was really well done. It took me by surprise. I loved Lady Merritt. She was such a self-possessed, strong, independent woman and like main female character, but she also wanted love, and so I love that she did not sacrifice herself and her personality for love. She just made it part of her life without sacrificing what she wanted or part of herself, and I loved that so much. And part of it takes place in Scotland. So yes, I will be finishing the series, but it will be very slowly over time. Next we have The School of Good and Evil. This series is by Sonan Chenani, I believe. This is just gonna be a no for me. It was so chaotic. It's about this girl who fully believes she's gonna be taken to the School of Good, and she fully believes her friend is gonna be taken to the School of Evil, and when they do end up going, it's reversed and she's in the School of Evil, and her friend, who is like very dark, gothic, different, she's in the School of Good. They go through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of schooling from the school, and she constantly tries to get in the School of Good, and by doing so it kind of proves how evil she is. It was so chaotic. I love the concept of it, but it's a no for me. Then we have the Shadows Between Us series by Trisha Levenseller. Yes, did you know she's writing a second book? She is. It's being written right now, so I will probably finish it. The first one was kind of silly, but once you just accepted that it was silly, it was entertaining, so I'll probably pick up the second one and just speed through it. Then we have the Sherbrookes of Newport series by Christina Terraut. This is a very short contemporary romance about the Sherbrooks family, who are billionaires. There are 16 books in the series. I know they're short. It didn't stick with me enough for me to want to read 16 books, so this is a no for me. Then we have the Steminist novellas by Ali Hazelwood. I'm actually on the 3rd book of the 3-book series right now, like currently reading it, so yes, I will be finishing the series. This follows 3 women who are friends in the STEM program. I believe one is an engineer, one is environmental sciences. The one that I'm reading right now, I'm not sure what she does, but I know that she's like Antarctica for something. Something about space. Astronaut and space science. I'm enjoying it. Yes, I'll finish it. Then we have the Summer I Turned Pretty series by Jenny Han. I will not be continuing the series. I did not like the main character in the first books. I also didn't like the brothers in the first books. Maybe Jeremy. I like Jeremy, but I hear that he changes in the second book. Not Jeremy, Jeremiah. Jeremiah. Oops. I would have loved this in middle school and high school, but I'm not in middle school and high school anymore, and my reading has evolved, and thus I will not be continuing this series. I'll just watch it on Netflix, Amazon, whatever streaming platform it's on. Then we have the Tattooist of Auschwitz series by Heather Morris. I read the first 2 books in this 3-book series. I listened to them on Audible, so I probably will listen to the 3rd book eventually. They were really well written. I think I remember crying. They're heartbreaking, but I think they are a part of history that we need to remember and we need to feel so that we don't repeat history. Then we have The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. There are 6 books in it and I have read 2 of them. I actually read number 2 and number 4. If they come my way by some chance, then yes, I'll read them. So it's like possible. It's like a maybe. Then we have the Wicked Winter series by Scarlett Scott. There are 14 books in this series, so I probably won't be reading them. However, once I get Kindle Unlimited again, I'll probably probably pick up a few of them, but the likelihood of me finishing the entire series is very low, so no. Then we have These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I read the first book in the series. It's like a fantasy historical YA romance. There are now 3 books in the series. I did not like the first book. I just didn't love the writing style. I don't love mysteries, but I heard the hype and I wanted to try it. I loved that it was like mythology almost and like historical in Shanghai, like China. I loved that aspect of it. But no, I will not be continuing this series. Just not for me. Then we have the Twisted series by Anna Huang. I will be finishing this series because I own all of them and I am doing a reading vlog reading this whole series. It follows 4 friends and their love interests like kind of around or after college. Then we have Wildwood Dancing by Juliet Marillier. I love this book so much. There are currently 2 books in the series, so there's one more book after this following one of her sisters, and I read the first chapter of it and I didn't like it. And this is also kind of like Ella Enchanted, where it's just such a classical loved book for me and I don't want to ruin that, so I will not be continuing this series. I'll just keep this in its little golden bubble. Then we have When in Rome series by Sarah Adams. This is set in Rome, Kentucky. I love this series. She just came out with her second one, or it's going to be releasing really soon. I will be reading it. I loved the characters and the found family in this book. It's a clean, wholesome romance, sunshine, warm blanket vibes. I will be continuing this series. Then we have the Wings of Fire series by Tweety Sutherland. Love. I own almost all of them that are out in paperback. I will be continuing this series. Very found family, fantastical, dragons. Each character has such fun personalities. There's always some sort of like mystery and adventure. The character arcs are great. Yes, I will be continuing this series. The last series that I have started and not finished is Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur. I love the characters and I love the idea of this book, but I don't like the writing style. I'm so sorry, Alexandria. It was hard for me to follow, and I've tried reading the next book in the series. Actually, this is the 3rd book. I didn't know that, so maybe that's why. Maybe I'll give it one more chance. I did not love the writing style. The spicy scene was great though. I do remember some spicy scenes. So maybe I'll give it one more try. Okay, I'm not gonna count right now, but I'm gonna let editing Elise count. This is the number of series that I am going to absolutely 100% continue and finish. This is the number of series that I'll probably finish, but I'm gonna get to them when I get to them. They're not a top priority. This is the number of series that I will maybe finish, but it's really up to the reading gods and the mood reading will of me. Whenever I feel like it, if I feel like it. This is the number of series that I am going to give one more book a chance before I decide to finish it or not finish it. And last but not least, this is the number of series that I am not going to continue. I am not going to complete. Sorry. Editing Elise. I'm so sorry. I appreciate you. You got this, girl. Oh my gosh. If you guys made it this far, you are amazing. Thank you so much for watching this video. You guys blow me away. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to know any and all of your thoughts about any of these series. Have you finished some of these series? Did you DNF some of these series? Which series should I finish first and focus on? Which ones are your favorites? I just love talking books with you guys in the comments. I am wishing all of you the best, sending you good vibes, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone! Mwah. I do also want to note that it is quite possible that I missed some books being series. I hope that my numbers are correct, but it's quite possible for me to be incorrect. So we're humans, we make mistakes, and I had 112 book series to look into, so I did my best. Thanks guys!